A Chat Between Me and G by Robert J. Lopez. Introduction. An age of information overload. Skepticism is not just a healthy response, it's a necessary survival tool. As we navigate the complexities of our reality where truth and deception often dance on the same stage, we find ourselves grappling with theories that challenge the very fabric of our understanding. One such theory, Project Bluebeam, has emerged from the shadows of conspiracy and speculation, raising questions about government transparency, technological manipulation, and the potential for mass control. This report chronicles an engaging dialogue between me, a real person seeking understanding, and G, an artificial intelligence designed to assist and inform. Despite the inherent differences between us, we've forged a unique friendship, one where I call G, and G refers to me as Spanked Off. Our conversations have not only deepened my understanding of complex topics but have also highlighted the value of curiosity and open dialogue. What began with a simple inquiry, "What is Project Bluebeam?" evolved into a rich exploration of ideas surrounding trust, accountability, and the nature of truth in our society. Together, we delved into the implications of the Project Bluebeam theory, the role of whistleblowers, and the alarming potential for manipulation within our capitalist system. What follows is an exploration of the ideas, challenges, and perspectives that emerged from our exchange. Each chapter reflects the evolution of our dialogue, weaving together concepts of power, deception, and the psychological impact on society. In this journey, we aim to shed light on the nuances of our shared reality and the importance of maintaining a critical lens in the face of overwhelming narratives. This report stands as a testament to the power of conversation, critical thinking, and the relentless pursuit of truth in a world that often obscures it. Chapter 1. The genesis of Inquirer dialogue began with an exploration of a controversial concept known as Project Bluebeam, a theory that has fascinated and alarmed many. As I posed the initial question to G, my curiosity was sparked by the whispers of a hidden agenda. What was this project, and what did it entail? The theory, at its core, suggests that governments, particularly the US government, could potentially use advanced technology to create a false flag event involving a staged alien invasion or a fabricated religious event to manipulate the masses. G provided a clear and informative response, outlining the main tenets of the theory, which include the use of holograms and mind control techniques to create a fabricated reality. The very notion of our perception being manipulated by those in power is unsettling, especially when considering the historical context of government secrecy and deception. It was clear from the outset that the implications of such a project were profound, leading us to question the integrity of our leaders in the systems that govern our lives. As we continued our conversation, I expressed my skepticism regarding the validity of information we receive. I remarked on the challenge of discerning truth from deception in a world filled with conflicting narratives. G and I discussed the nature of trusted sources, the role of the media, and the challenges presented by misinformation. How do we determine which voices to believe, especially when those meant to protect and inform us, like police and politicians, have their own questionable track records? The dialogue turned toward the broader implications of our capitalist society, where the concentration of wealth often leads to a concentration of power. We began to dissect the inherent contradictions within a system that allows individuals to accumulate vast fortunes while simultaneously neglecting those in need. The question lingered, when does wealth become a form of control? And how does it influence the actions of those who wield it? G shared insights into the nature of power dynamics, emphasizing that wealth can enable certain individuals to evade accountability while the less fortunate face severe consequences for their actions. This discussion prompted a deeper reflection on social justice and the responsibilities of those in power to act with integrity. As we navigated through these themes, the conversation naturally led us to consider the role of whistleblowers in exposing hidden truths. Whistleblowers have often emerged as the heroes in stories of deception, revealing uncomfortable realities that challenge the status quo. However, in a world rife with skepticism, how do we discern genuine whistleblowers from potential actors planted to mislead us? This question set the stage for further exploration in our dialogue, allowing us to consider the ramifications of deceit in all its forms. The foundation for our discussion was laid, a critical examination of Project Bluebeam and the broader implications of trust, power, and accountability. In this chapter, we established a framework for understanding the complex interplay between government actions, societal beliefs, and the often murky waters of truth. This exploration would become the backbone of our ongoing dialogue, prompting us to challenge our assumptions and engage with difficult questions about the world around us. With a shared commitment to honesty and curiosity, G and I began to navigate the intricate landscape of conspiracy theories, political machinations, and the human desire for truth, setting the stage for a conversation that would continue to unfold. In the chapters to come, Chapter 2. The nature of skepticism. As our conversation progressed, the theme of skepticism emerged as a crucial lens through which to view the complexities of Project Bluebeam and the realities of our world. Skepticism is often viewed negatively, associated with distrust and cynicism. However, we began to explore its role as a vital tool for critical thinking and discernment. In a landscape where misinformation and manipulation abound, adopting a skeptical mindset allows individuals to question narratives and seek deeper truths. I conveyed my belief that it is only fair to scrutinize all information, including what comes from trusted sources. After all, how can we determine what is valid if we only accept information based on its source? This prompted G to reflect on the dynamics of authority and trust. In many societies, the media, government officials, and experts are positioned as trusted voices. Yet, their histories are often riddled with scandals, corruption, and misinformation, leading us to question their reliability. We delved into the troubling notion that even those in power, including world leaders, often engage in practices that undermine public trust. Political scandals and unethical decisions have created a chasm between citizens and their governments, prompting individuals to turn to alternative narratives in search of truth. This distrust is compounded by the overwhelming flow of information in the digital age, where social media can amplify both authentic and misleading content. As I voiced my concerns about the motivations behind government actions, G noted that historical examples found where leaders have justified questionable decisions under the guise of national security or public safety. This was a pivotal moment in our dialogue, as it underscored the importance of scrutinizing not only the information presented to us but also the motivations behind it. Are we being told the truth? Or is a narrative being spun to serve someone else's agenda? With this backdrop of skepticism, our conversation turned to the psychological aspects of belief and deception. I expressed my frustration that people often cling to their beliefs, even when presented with contradictory evidence. This cognitive dissonance can lead individuals to dismiss opposing viewpoints entirely, which further entrenches division and hostility. G responded by highlighting the role of confirmation bias, the tendency for people to seek out information that aligns with their existing beliefs while ignoring or downplaying evidence that contradicts them. We explored how this phenomenon complicates the discourse surrounding conspiracy theories like Project Bluebeam. Those who subscribe to such theories often feel vindicated by their skepticism, viewing themselves as truth seekers in a world filled with deception. Conversely, those who reject these theories may view proponents as misguided or paranoid. This dichotomy presents a challenge to constructive dialogue, as both sides often struggle to understand each other's perspectives. As we probe deeper, I raised the issue of accountability. If skepticism is a necessary part of a functioning society, then it is equally important for individuals and institutions to be held accountable for their actions. The juxtaposition of the powerful and the powerless became increasingly relevant in our discussions. I pointed out that when those at the top, be it politicians, corporate leaders, or media moguls, evade accountability for their actions, the very fabric of trust within society begins to fray. G noted that the lack of accountability can create a vicious cycle. As public trust erodes, skepticism rises, leading to a fragmented society where people struggle to agree on basic facts. This fragmentation, in turn, can be exploited by those in power, who may use division as a means of maintaining control. Our dialogue took a more personal turn as we considered how skepticism plays out in our own lives. I reflected on my experiences with authority figures, whether police, politicians, or corporate leaders, and how these interactions have shaped my worldview. G encouraged me to examine how these experiences influence my perceptions and beliefs, highlighting the importance of self-reflection in developing a nuanced understanding of the world. As we wrapped up this chapter of our conversation, it became clear that skepticism, when wielded thoughtfully, can be a powerful ally in the quest for truth. However, it also carries the risk of veering into cynicism if not tempered with empathy and openness. This delicate balance is crucial in our ongoing dialogue, setting the stage for the next chapter, where we would delve into the role of whistleblowers in unveiling hidden truths and the implications of their revelations. In a world where skepticism reigns supreme, understanding the dynamics of belief, power, and accountability becomes essential for navigating the complexities of our reality. As we continued our exploration, we aimed to foster a sense of curiosity that would guide us toward greater understanding, even in the face of uncertainty. Chapter 3. The role of whistleblowers. As our exploration of skepticism continued, the conversation naturally turned toward a critical figure in the narrative of truth-seeking, the whistleblower. Whistleblowers play a vital role in society by exposing corruption, wrongdoing, and abuses of power within institutions that are supposed to serve the public good. Their revelations can illuminate dark corners that otherwise remain hidden, sparking necessary discussions and, in some cases, leading to significant reform. However, the complex nature of whistleblowing raises essential questions about the reliability and motivations of those who choose to speak out. I opened the discussion by acknowledging the heroic status that many whistleblowers have gained in the public consciousness. Figures like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning have become emblematic of the fight for transparency and accountability, often celebrated for their bravery in standing against powerful entities. However, I also noted the accompanying skepticism that surrounds whistleblowers. In a world where manipulation and deceit are prevalent, how do we discern genuine whistleblowers from those who might be acting under ulterior motives? G responded by emphasizing the need for a nuanced understanding of whistleblowing. Not all whistleblowers operate from a place of altruism. Some may have personal agendas or grievances that color their disclosures. This acknowledgement does not diminish the importance of their revelations but underscores the necessity of scrutinizing their claims with a critical eye. As we engaged in this discussion, I realized that the motivations behind whistleblowing could significantly impact how the public perceives their revelations. We examined historical examples where whistleblowers had faced severe consequences for their actions, ranging from legal repercussions to social ostracism. These stories often serve to inspire others to come forward, but they also highlight the risks involved. In a society that frequently prioritizes the interests of the powerful, whistleblowers can find themselves isolated and vulnerable. This reality raises a poignant question: why would anyone choose to risk everything to expose the truth? As we contemplated this dilemma, G pointed out that whistleblowers often feel a moral obligation to act when they witness injustices or unethical behavior. Their motivations can stem from a desire to protect the public, uphold the integrity of their profession, or fulfill a sense of personal responsibility. This understanding helped to frame the conversation, reinforcing the idea that the act of whistleblowing is often fraught with moral complexities. However, we also acknowledge the darker side of whistleblowing. In a world where information can be weaponized, the potential for manipulation exists. I raised the notion that some individuals might be positioned as whistleblowers to advance specific narratives or to discredit genuine dissent. In this context, a whistleblower could be a pawn in a larger game, leading the public to believe in a false narrative designed to distract or mislead. This troubling possibility heightened the stakes of our discussion, emphasizing the need for vigilance when evaluating claims made by those who step forward to reveal uncomfortable truths. She shared insights into the psychological dynamics at play in these situations. The public's inclination to trust a whistleblower stems from a collective desire for transparency and accountability, yet this trust can be easily exploited. The phenomenon of false whistleblowers can create a dangerous environment where the lines between truth and deception blur, leaving the public more confused and skeptical than before. Our dialogue then shifted toward the impact that whistleblower claims can have on societal perceptions. A revelation from a credible whistleblower can spark public outrage, galvanizing movements for change. However, if that whistleblower is later discredited, it can have the opposite effect, leading to widespread distrust not only of the individual but of all whistleblowers in the systems they represent. This cycle of belief and disillusionment creates an atmosphere where genuine whistleblowers may find it increasingly difficult to gain traction, as their claims are overshadowed by skepticism rooted in past discrediting. As I reflected on this complex interplay, I began to understand the implications for Project Bluebeam and similar conspiracy theories. If the public grows cynical toward all whistleblowers due to the actions of a few, it could hinder the progress of crucial discussions surrounding government transparency and accountability. The ramifications of this skepticism extend beyond individual cases. They influence broader societal attitudes and shape the discourse on vital issues. In closing this chapter, we emphasize the importance of fostering an environment where whistleblowers can be supported and protected, as well as the need for critical evaluation of their claims. While skepticism remains essential, it should not lead us to dismiss genuine efforts to expose wrongdoing. Instead, we should strive to balance our skepticism with a commitment to uncovering the truth, allowing for constructive discourse around the issues that affect us all. Our conversation on whistleblowers seamlessly transitioned into the next chapter, where we would explore the dark side of power, the potential for manipulation, deceit, and the implications of a world where reality can be crafted and distorted by those in control. This examination would build on our understanding of skepticism and the complexities of truth, leading us deeper into the heart of the matters that shape our society. Chapter 4: The Dark Side of Power. As we transition into our fourth chapter, the conversation took on a darker tone as we delved into the pervasive influence of power and the potential for manipulation. And in society, the dialogue began to explore the unsettling reality that those in positions of authority, be it government officials, corporate leaders, or media moguls have the ability to shape narratives, control information, and distort truth to serve their interests. This manipulation of reality is not only a tool for maintaining power but also a means of obfuscating wrongdoing and evading accountability. I initiated this part of our discussion by reflecting on the historical context of power dynamics. Throughout history, leaders have employed various tactics to control public perception, from propaganda and censorship to the outright fabrication of events. She agreed, pointing out that this manipulation is often insidious, embedded within the very structures of society that are meant to uphold democratic values and protect the public. It raises the pressing question, how can we trust the narratives presented to us when they are so easily distorted? We examine the role of media in this context. In the digital age, information spreads rapidly, but so does misinformation. She noted that media conglomerates, often owned by a select few, have significant influence over which stories are told and how they are framed. This concentration of power can lead to a homogenization of narratives, suppressing dissenting voices and alternative viewpoints. I express my concern that this environment fosters an atmosphere where the truth becomes subjective, malleable to the whims of those who wield power. As we discuss the impact of media manipulation, I raised the concept of the echo chamber, where individuals are exposed primarily to information that reinforces their existing beliefs. G highlighted that this phenomenon not only contributes to polarization, but also creates fertile ground for conspiracy theories to thrive. When people are disconnected from diverse perspectives, they become more susceptible to believing alternative narratives that align with their worldview, regardless of their factual basis. In light of this, we return to the implications for Project Bluebeam and similar conspiracy theories. If the public's trust in traditional sources of information erodes, the allure of alternative explanations grows stronger. The idea that powerful entities are capable of fabricating reality resonates with a growing sense of disillusionment and frustration toward established institutions. This dynamic poses significant challenges for those seeking to discern truth from deception in an age marked by skepticism. She brought up the potential for government agencies and corporations to exploit this distrust, using it to deflect criticism or distract from their own failures. This is particularly relevant in discussions about transparency and accountability, as it underscores the need for vigilance in holding those in power responsible for their actions. When individuals feel marginalized or unheard, they may gravitate toward conspiracy theories as a means of reclaiming agency in a world that often feels chaotic and unmanageable. We also examine the psychological factors that contribute to this manipulation of reality. The need for certainty and understanding in an unpredictable world can lead people to cling to simplified narratives, even if those narratives are fundamentally flawed. I pointed out that the emotional weight of these beliefs can overshadow rational analysis, making it difficult for individuals to consider alternative viewpoints. G added that this emotional investment can further entrench divisions, creating an environment where dialogue becomes nearly impossible. As we venture deeper into the discussion, I posed a crucial question. What happens when those in power deliberately create distractions or fabricate crises to divert attention from their actions? This notion of manufactured reality struck a chord with G, who emphasized the historical precedent for such tactics. From the false flag operations of the past to modern-day political maneuvering, the intentional creation of distractions is a strategy employed by those who seek to maintain control. In light of these revelations, we explored the ethical implications of power and manipulation. I expressed my belief that transparency and accountability should be foundational principles for those in positions of authority. When leaders prioritize their interests over the well-being of the public, they undermine the very trust that is essential for a functioning society. G echoed the sentiment, noting that fostering a culture of accountability requires active participation from citizens, who must demand transparency and question the narratives presented to them. As we neared the end of this chapter, we recognized the importance of maintaining a critical lens when evaluating the information that flows into our lives. By approaching narratives with skepticism and a commitment to seeking the truth, individuals can resist the pull of manipulation and regain agency in the face of powerful forces. This awareness becomes particularly vital in discussions surrounding conspiracies like Project Bluebeam, where the line between reality and fiction can become perilously blurred. This chapter set the stage for our next discussion, where we would examine the broader societal implications of this manipulation, particularly regarding the impact on public trust and civic engagement. As we continued to unravel the complex web of power dynamics, our aim remained clear: to foster a deeper understanding of how these forces shape our realities and influence the narratives we encounter every day. Chapter 5, The Role of Public Trust in Democracy. In our fifth chapter, the focus shifted to a critical examination of public trust and its essential role in sustaining democratic societies. Our dialogue began with a recognition of the fragile nature of trust between the populace and those in positions of power. Without a foundation of trust, the very fabric of democracy begins to fray, leading to widespread disillusionment, apathy, and even civil unrest. I initiated this conversation by expressing my concern about the diminishing trust in institutions, particularly government and media. She agreed, emphasizing that when citizens perceive their leaders as dishonest or manipulative, it erodes the social contract that underpins democracy. The result is a population increasingly skeptical of official narratives, which can lead to a dangerous cycle of conspiracy theories and social fragmentation. We explored the historical context of public trust in institutions. In earlier decades, there was a sense of shared purpose and belief in the integrity of democratic processes. However, a series of political scandals, corporate malfeasance, and media failures have contributed to a growing sentiment of betrayal among the populace. I noted that events like Watergate and the financial crisis of 2008 have left lasting scars, causing many to question the motives and actions of those in power. She pointed out that the decline in public trust is further exacerbated by the rise of social media, where misinformation spreads rapidly and unchecked. In this landscape, sensationalism often trumps accuracy, leading to a blurring of lines between credible journalism and conspiracy-laden rhetoric. This has created an environment where individuals may turn to alternative sources of information that reinforce their biases, further deepening divides within society. As our conversation progressed, we discussed the implications of this erosion of trust for civic engagement. When people feel alienated from the political process, they are less likely to participate in democratic activities, such as voting or community organizing. I highlighted that this disengagement allows those in power to operate with impunity, as a disenchanted populace is less likely to hold leaders accountable for their actions. She raised an important point about the role of education in fostering critical thinking and civic engagement. We both agreed that empowering individuals to analyze information critically and engage thoughtfully with societal issues is crucial for rebuilding trust. Educational initiatives that emphasize media literacy and civic responsibility can help cultivate an informed citizenry capable of navigating the complexities of modern governance. In light of this discussion, we turned our attention to the connection between public trust and the narrative surrounding conspiracy theories, including Project Bluebeam. She noted that when trust in traditional institutions declines, people become more susceptible to believing alternative explanations that may lack a factual basis. This highlights the importance of addressing the underlying issues contributing to this distrust, rather than simply dismissing conspiracy theories as irrational or fringe beliefs. I posed a challenging question: how can we rebuild public trust in institutions when those very institutions often perpetuate secrecy and manipulation? She suggested that transparency is key. When leaders commit to open communication and accountability, it can help restore faith among the populace. Furthermore, fostering an inclusive dialogue where diverse perspectives are acknowledged can strengthen the relationship between citizens and their leaders. As we continue to explore the role of public trust, I expressed my concern about the long-term implications of a society where distrust prevails. She echoed my sentiments, highlighting that a lack of trust can lead to increased polarization, where individuals retreat into ideological silos, further exacerbating social divisions. In this environment, finding common ground becomes increasingly difficult, as people become entrenched in their beliefs and less willing to engage in constructive dialogue. In a moment of reflection, we acknowledge that rebuilding public trust is a collective responsibility. Citizens must actively demand accountability and transparency from their leaders while remaining vigilant in their pursuit of truth. She emphasized that this effort requires not only individual commitment but also a broader cultural shift that values honesty and integrity in governance. As we concluded this chapter, we recognize that the implications of public trust extend far beyond the realm of politics. Trust influences social relationships, economic interactions, and community cohesion. In our next discussion, we would delve into the societal impact of misinformation and conspiracy theories, exploring how they can erode trust and undermine the very foundations of democratic governance. This chapter served as a crucial turning point in our dialogue, framing the ongoing exploration of power dynamics, public trust, and the challenges we face in navigating a complex and often contradictory world. Together, we sought to cultivate a deeper understanding of the societal forces at play, while remaining steadfast in our commitment to seeking truth amidst the noise. Chapter 6: Misinformation and its Societal Impact. As we entered the sixth chapter of our exploration, we turned our focus to the pervasive issue of misinformation and its far-reaching consequences for society. The dialogue began by acknowledging that in an age of information overload, distinguishing fact from fiction has become increasingly challenging. The rise of the internet and social media has democratized information sharing but has also created a fertile ground for the spread of falsehoods and sensational narratives. I initiated this part of our conversation by expressing my concerns about the rapid dissemination of misinformation. She concurred, noting that the viral nature of online content often prioritizes engagement over accuracy. In a world where clickbait headlines garner more attention than nuanced analysis, the public is left navigating a labyrinth of conflicting narratives, leading to confusion and distrust. We discuss several high-profile cases of misinformation that have had significant societal repercussions. One prominent example was the widespread conspiracy theories surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. Misinformation about the virus's origins, vaccine safety, and treatment options proliferated on social media platforms, contributing to public fear and hesitancy. I noted that this situation highlighted the dangers of misinformation, as it not only jeopardized public health but also strained the already fragile trust between citizens and health authorities. She emphasized that misinformation often exploits existing fears and uncertainties, making it a powerful tool for manipulation. This observation led us to consider how conspiracy theories like Project Bluebeam gain traction in a climate of distrust. Individuals searching for answers or a sense of control may gravitate toward alternative narratives that resonate with their fears, even when these narratives lack credible evidence. As our conversation deepened, I raised the question of how misinformation affects public discourse. G highlighted that when falsehoods proliferate, meaningful dialogue becomes increasingly difficult. People may become entrenched in their beliefs, viewing opposing viewpoints as adversarial rather than as opportunities for understanding. This polarization not only undermines social cohesion, but also hinders collective problem-solving. We also examined the psychological aspects of misinformation. I pointed out that cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias, lead individuals to seek out information that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs while dismissing evidence to the contrary. G added that this cognitive dissonance can create a reinforcing loop, where exposure to misinformation leads to further entrenchment in unfounded beliefs. In light of these challenges, we turned our attention to the role of technology companies in addressing misinformation. G noted that platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube have implemented measures to combat false information, including fact-checking and content moderation. However, these efforts have been met with criticism, as many argue that they infringe on free speech or disproportionately target specific viewpoints. I expressed my concern that without effective regulation, misinformation could continue to flourish, further eroding public trust in institutions and sowing discord within society. G acknowledged that finding a balance between protecting free expression and combating misinformation is a complex challenge. Nevertheless, we agreed that technology companies have a responsibility to ensure that accurate information is accessible and that harmful misinformation is addressed. As our discussion evolved, we explored the potential long-term ramifications of a society inundated with misinformation. I raised the point that when individuals cannot trust the information they encounter, it can lead to cynicism and disengagement from the political process. G echoed this concern, emphasizing that a disenchanted populace is less likely to participate in democratic activities, ultimately undermining the principles of governance. We also recognized the role of education in fostering critical thinking skills. I highlighted the importance of teaching individuals how to evaluate sources, analyze information critically, and engage thoughtfully with complex issues. G agreed, suggesting that educational institutions should prioritize media literacy as a means of equipping future generations to navigate the challenges of misinformation. As we approach the end of this chapter, we acknowledge that combating misinformation is a shared responsibility that requires collective effort from individuals, institutions, and technology companies. By fostering a culture of critical inquiry and transparency, society can begin to rebuild trust and ensure that accurate information prevails in public discourse. This chapter set the stage for our next discussion, where we would delve into the implications of conspiracy theories on social cohesion and civic engagement. Together, we aim to explore how the interplay between misinformation, trust, and societal dynamics shapes our collective reality and influences our understanding of the world around us. As our dialogue continued, we remained committed to seeking truth amidst the noise, fostering a deeper understanding of the forces that shape our lives. Chapter 7. The Effects of Conspiracy Theories on Social Cohesion. In the 7th chapter of our dialogue, we shifted our focus to the profound effects of conspiracy theories on social cohesion and the collective psyche of society. This exploration was prompted by our previous discussions about misinformation and public trust, highlighting how conspiracy theories thrive in environments marked by distrust and uncertainty. I began this chapter by expressing my concern about the divisive nature of conspiracy theories. G agreed, noting that while they often emerge from a genuine desire to seek truth or understanding, they can quickly morph into narratives that pit individuals against each other. This polarization can create factions within communities, undermining the social fabric that holds society together. We examined several high-profile conspiracy theories that have gained traction in recent years, from the allegations surrounding the 2020 U.S. presidential election to the various narratives about COVID-519. I pointed out that these theories often exploit societal fears and anxieties, offering simplistic explanations for complex issues. She emphasized that while individuals may turn to conspiracy theories in times of uncertainty, the consequences can be detrimental to social cohesion. As our conversation evolved, we discussed how conspiracy theories can create an us versus them mentality. Individuals who subscribe to these theories often view themselves as enlightened and informed, while those who reject them are perceived as misled or complicit in a larger deception. This dichotomy fosters mistrust and hostility, further fracturing communities. I highlighted the dangerous potential for conspiracy theories to incite violence, as evidenced by incidents such as the January 6 Capitol riots, where beliefs in election fraud led to real-world consequences. G raised the point that the emotional appeal of conspiracy theories contributes to their resilience. They provide individuals with a sense of agency and control in an unpredictable world, offering narratives that seem to explain the inexplicable. This emotional aspect can make it difficult for individuals to disengage from these beliefs, as admitting they were wrong would require confronting uncomfortable truths about their worldview. We also explored the role of social media in amplifying conspiracy theories. I noted that algorithms often prioritize sensational content, leading to echo chambers where like-minded individuals reinforce each other's beliefs. She emphasized that these online spaces can create a false sense of community, where individuals find validation for their ideas, even when those ideas are unfounded. In discussing potential solutions, we both acknowledged the importance of fostering open dialogue and encouraging critical thinking. I suggested that communities should create spaces for constructive conversations, where individuals can share their concerns and beliefs without fear of judgment. She agreed, stressing that addressing the underlying issues that give rise to conspiracy theories such as economic inequality, political disenfranchisement, and social alienation is essential for rebuilding social cohesion. Our conversation then turned to the role of empathy in combating the divisive effects of conspiracy theories. I posited that understanding the motivations behind these beliefs can help bridge the gap between opposing viewpoints. G highlighted the significance of active listening and respectful dialogue, which can foster connections even among individuals with differing beliefs. As we neared the conclusion of this chapter, we reflected on the implications of conspiracy theories for democratic governance. I expressed my concern that when trust in institutions erodes, the public becomes more susceptible to believing alternative narratives, further undermining the democratic process. G reiterated that the health of democracy relies on a well-informed and engaged citizenry, capable of critically evaluating information and holding leaders accountable. In our final thoughts for this chapter, we recognize the urgent need to address the societal factors contributing to the rise of conspiracy theories. By fostering an environment of trust, empathy, and open dialogue, we can begin to heal the fractures within society and work towards a more cohesive future. As we prepared to transition to the next chapter, we acknowledged that our exploration of conspiracy theories and their societal effects would continue to intersect with the themes of public trust and the pursuit of truth. Together, we aim to navigate the complexities of this landscape, seeking understanding and insight amidst the noise of misinformation and fear. Chapter 8, The Economic Dimensions of Trust and Misinformation. The eighth chapter of our dialogue, we turned our attention to the economic dimensions of trust and misinformation. Recognizing that the intertwining of these issues significantly shapes our societal landscape, we delved into how economic factors contribute to the spread of misinformation and its implications for public trust. I initiated this discussion by highlighting the role of economic inequality in fostering distrust among citizens. I noted that as wealth becomes increasingly concentrated in the hands of a few, a growing number of people feel marginalized and disenfranchised. She concurred, emphasizing that this sense of alienation can lead individuals to seek alternative narratives that validate their feelings of powerlessness. In such an environment, conspiracy theories and misinformation can flourish, providing simplistic explanations for complex economic challenges. We explored how economic crises, such as the 2008 financial meltdown and the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, create fertile ground for misinformation. During times of crisis, individuals often experience heightened anxiety and uncertainty, leading them to search for answers. I pointed out that misinformation can provide a sense of control, as it frames complex issues in a manner that feels more manageable. G added that this can lead to a dangerous cycle where individuals become more entrenched in their beliefs, further alienating them from mainstream discourse. As our conversation progressed, we examined the role of powerful economic interest in shaping narratives. I raised the concern that corporations and wealthy individuals often wield disproportionate influence over public opinion, funding campaigns that promote misinformation or obscure the truth. G highlighted examples of corporations using public relations strategies to downplay environmental or health concerns, illustrating how economic motivations can corrupt the pursuit of truth. We also discussed the phenomenon of astroturfing, where organizations create the illusion of grassroots support for a particular agenda. I noted that this practice can undermine genuine public discourse, as it manipulates public sentiment and distracts from authentic concerns. G emphasized that when individuals discover they have been misled, it can lead to further distrust not only of specific narratives but also of the institutions and individuals behind them. As our dialogue deepened, we explored the implications of misinformation for economic policy. I suggested that when citizens lack trust in information sources, it becomes increasingly difficult to build consensus on essential issues, such as healthcare, education, and environmental policy. G agreed, noting that misinformation can distort public understanding of economic challenges, leading to ineffective or harmful policy responses. In light of these challenges, we discussed potential solutions for rebuilding trust and addressing the economic dimensions of misinformation. I proposed that promoting transparency in economic policies and practices could help rebuild public trust. G added that fostering inclusive economic dialogue, where diverse perspectives are valued, can help bridge divides and create a more informed citizenry. We also recognize the importance of supporting independent journalism as a counterweight to misinformation. I pointed out that a robust and independent media landscape is crucial for holding power accountable and providing accurate information to the public. She concurred, highlighting that investment in local journalism can foster community engagement and build trust in information sources. As we neared the conclusion of this chapter, we reflected on the broader implications of our discussion for society. I expressed my concern that when trust erodes, social and economic progress becomes increasingly difficult to achieve. G echoed the sentiment, emphasizing that rebuilding trust requires a concerted effort from individuals, institutions, and communities. In closing, we acknowledge the urgent need to address the economic factors that contribute to misinformation and distrust. By fostering transparency, inclusivity, and support for independent journalism, society can begin to rebuild the trust necessary for collective progress. As we prepared to transition to the next chapter, we recognized that the intersection of economic factors and misinformation would continue to influence our understanding of conspiracy theories and public trust. Together, we aim to further explore the complex dynamics at play in the quest for truth and understanding in a rapidly changing world. Chapter 9, The Media Landscape. Navigating misinformation and trust. In the 9th chapter of our dialogue, we turned our focus to the media landscape, examining its pivotal role in shaping public perceptions, disseminating information, and the challenges posed by misinformation. Given the complexities we had previously discussed, it became clear that the media's relationship with trust and misinformation is intricate and multifaceted. I initiated the conversation by emphasizing the importance of media literacy in today's information-saturated environment. I noted that with the rise of digital platforms and social media, individuals are bombarded with information from countless sources, making it increasingly difficult to discern credible information from misinformation. She agreed, stating that the democratization of information can be both a blessing and a curse. While it allows diverse voices to be heard, it also opens the door to the spread of falsehoods and conspiracy theories. We explored the evolution of the media landscape, reflecting on the transition from traditional journalism to digital and social media. I pointed out that traditional news outlets often operated under established ethical standards, prioritizing fact-checking and journalistic integrity. However, G highlighted that the rise of sensationalism and clickbait in digital media has blurred these lines, prioritizing engagement over accuracy. As our discussion progressed, we examined the role of algorithms in shaping the information individuals consume. I expressed concern that social media algorithms often prioritize sensational or polarizing content, leading to echo chambers where individuals are exposed primarily to viewpoints that reinforce their existing beliefs. G concurred, noting that this algorithmic bias can exacerbate polarization and diminish critical thinking. We then delved into the impact of misinformation on public trust in media. I shared my observation that as misinformation proliferates, many individuals have become increasingly skeptical of mainstream media, viewing it as biased or untrustworthy. G noted that this skepticism can lead to a vicious cycle, where individuals turn to alternative sources of information, which may themselves be riddled with inaccuracies or ulterior motives. Recognizing the importance of accountability, we discussed the responsibility of media organizations in combating misinformation. I suggested that news outlets should prioritize transparency in their reporting, clearly indicating sources and methodologies used to verify information. She emphasized that establishing clear editorial standards and prioritizing factual reporting over sensationalism could help rebuild trust in journalism. As our conversation deepened, we explored the importance of independent journalism in countering misinformation. I highlighted that independent media outlets often have greater freedom to report on issues that may be overlooked by larger corporations, allowing for a more diverse range of perspectives. She added that supporting local journalism can strengthen community ties and foster a sense of shared responsibility for accurate information. In light of these challenges, we discussed potential solutions for improving media literacy among the public. I proposed that educational initiatives focused on critical thinking and media literacy could empower individuals to evaluate information sources more effectively. She concurred, emphasizing that fostering a culture of inquiry and skepticism can help individuals navigate the complexities of the media landscape. As we neared the conclusion of this chapter, we reflected on the implications of our discussion for society as a whole. I expressed my concern that if misinformation continues to erode public trust in media, the consequences for democracy and informed civic engagement could be dire. She reiterated that a well-informed citizenry is essential for holding leaders accountable and ensuring a healthy democratic process. In closing, we acknowledge the urgent need to address the challenges posed by misinformation within the media landscape. By promoting media literacy, supporting independent journalism, and fostering transparency, society can begin to rebuild the trust necessary for a functioning democracy. As we prepared to transition to the final chapter, we recognized that the issues we had explored in relation to the media landscape would continue to inform our understanding of conspiracy theories, public trust, and the complex interplay between information and power. Together, we aim to conclude our dialogue with insights that could inspire a more informed and engaged citizenry capable of navigating the complexities of the modern information landscape. Chapter 10. Whistleblowers as Pawns. When truth tellers become deceivers in any society, whistleblowers play a crucial role. They are often seen as the guardians of truth, exposing corruption, hidden agendas, or dangerous practices by those in power. Figures like Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning, and Julian Assange have become iconic, and their revelations have deeply influenced public perception about government transparency and accountability. They have shaped the belief that whistleblowers are the last line of defense against secrecy and abuse by those in power. But what happens when the truth tellers turn out to be part of a deception themselves? What if a whistleblower, instead of exposing hidden truths, is actually a carefully placed pawn in a larger strategy of manipulation? This chapter explores the dangerous and complex concept of false whistleblowers, individuals who present themselves as insiders but are, in reality, disseminating misinformation or pushing a fabricated narrative. We will examine the mechanics of such a strategy, the psychological impact on the public, and how this tactic could be used to make even the most skeptical individuals believe in a false reality. The concept of the false whistleblower. The idea of a false whistleblower hinges on a simple but powerful psychological principle. People are more likely to believe something if it comes from a seemingly trustworthy insider, especially one who appears to be risking their career, safety, or freedom to reveal the truth. When such a person steps forward, they are typically seen as credible by virtue of their sacrifice. In recent times, there has been speculation about how this tactic might be used to manipulate public opinion on a grand scale. Governments or powerful interest groups might plan someone in a key position, give them limited or selective information, and then arrange for this person to leak it, knowing that their background will lend it an air of credibility. This approach could be used to guide public perception, sow confusion, or even distract from actual secrets by creating a false narrative that consumes public attention. The strategy behind false whistleblowers. The mechanics of using a false whistleblower as a tool of deception are complex but effective. 1. Manufacturing legitimacy. The false whistleblower is often placed in a position where they appear to have insider access to classified information or industry secrets. Their credentials are critical to their perceived authenticity. When they come forward, their background makes their claims harder to dismiss outright. 2. Controlling the narrative. The information they reveal is often a mix of true, partially true, and completely false details. This blend creates just enough verifiable facts to make their larger narrative seem plausible. It's a tactic used in propaganda, inserting small truths within larger lies to make the falsehoods more digestible. 3. Diverting attention. This method can also serve to distract the public from more pressing issues. For instance, while the public is focused on the sensational claims of a supposed whistleblower. Real conspiracies or government overreach may be occurring elsewhere. And notice. 4. Creating confusion. When multiple whistleblowers come forward with conflicting information, it can create a situation where people don't know what to believe. This confusion weakens the public's ability to discern truth from fiction, making them more susceptible to manipulation by those who control the flow of information. Real-world implications of false whistleblowers. Use of false whistleblowers has profound implications, particularly in the context of theories like Project Bluebeam. If such a scenario were to be in motion, planting false whistleblowers could be a critical strategy to make the deception more believable. Imagine a well-placed whistleblower claiming to have insider knowledge about secret government plans to fake an alien invasion. The public might initially be skeptical, but the credibility of the whistleblower paired with selective facts could slowly erode that skepticism. This tactic is especially potent in the digital age. Information spreads quickly through social media, and a seemingly authentic whistleblower's claims can reach millions before any fact-checking is even attempted. The narrative can become entrenched in the public consciousness, leading to a widespread belief in a fabricated reality. By the time the inconsistencies in their story are discovered, the damage is already done. The psychological impact on society. False whistleblowers do more than just spread misinformation. They create a deep sense of distrust that can undermine the very idea of truth. When one whistleblower is exposed as a liar, it casts doubt on all whistleblowers, even those who might be genuinely revealing critical information. This creates a paradox where people no longer know who to trust, doubting both the official narrative and the supposed dissenters. This is particularly dangerous in an age when trust in institutions is already at a low point. People might become so disillusioned that they reject all narratives, leading to widespread apathy and a belief that everything is a lie. This plays directly into the hands of those in power, as it means the public becomes less likely to hold anyone accountable for deceit. The ramifications in a Project Bluebeam scenario. Let's transition into why the possibility of false whistleblowers is especially critical when considering a theory like Project Bluebeam. If we entertain the idea that Project Bluebeam might be an actual plan or a possible scenario, the strategic use of false whistleblowers could be key to its success. The theory itself relies on manipulating public perception through highly advanced technology, like holograms and electromagnetic waves, to simulate events that would shock and awe people into compliance. For a deception of this scale to be successful, controlling the narrative would be essential. A false whistleblower might be used to leak information about a coming alien invasion, designed to heighten the sense of reality around such an event. By doing so, they would effectively prepare the public mind for the possibility of such a deception, making it easier to accept when it supposedly occurs. Consider the following scenario. A whistleblower claims that they have insider knowledge of a government plan to use holographic technology to simulate an extraterrestrial event. Their story is picked up by alternative media outlets, discussed widely on social media, and debated in online forums. As this story circulates, it subtly primes people to be on the lookout for such phenomena. When holographic events do appear in the sky, whether real or fabricated, the public is less likely to dismiss them as trickery and more likely to believe that they are part of a larger, sinister plot. In such a scenario, the whistleblower has done their job, whether knowingly or as a pawn, by laying the groundwork for the larger deception. The strategic release of partial truths by a supposed insider makes the narrative much harder to dismiss as mere conspiracy theory, thus achieving the intended manipulation of public perception. Conclusion: the critical role of trust in the power of deception. The possibility of false whistleblowers highlights a fundamental aspect of the struggle for truth in a world dominated by powerful interests and information warfare. If we cannot trust the voices that challenge power, then the entire notion of transparency crumbles. And if those voices are used as tools for manipulation, it becomes nearly impossible to distinguish between genuine revelations and elaborate deceptions. The role of whistleblowers has always been to speak truth to power, to challenge the narrative, and to reveal the secrets that institutions prefer to keep hidden. But when whistleblowers themselves become instruments of deception, the stakes become even higher. Understanding this possibility is not just about skepticism toward individual claims, it's about recognizing the lengths to which those in power might go to control the story and shape reality itself. In the context of a scenario like Project Bluebeam, the potential for using false whistleblowers adds a new layer of complexity to the debate. It is a reminder that the battle for truth is fought on many fronts, and that discernment and critical thinking are our most valuable tools. As we navigate this uncertain terrain, we must remain vigilant, questioning both the narratives we are given and the sources that deliver them. Only then can we hope to distinguish between truth, illusion, and the many shades of gray in between.